welcome back to Excel Level 1. My name is Kenna Smith, and I am going to be going through Excel Level 1 2016 for Unit 2, and we will be going through performing calculations. If you have reached this particular unit for Unit 2, then I also have previous recordings if you need some more basic information, so please check those out. So in Unit 2 on performing calculations, we are going to be going through the objectives of creating worksheet formulas, insert functions, and reuse formulas and functions. These are going to be great if you are in accounting or if you are just doing simple budget plans in your area of expertise or in your workplace. And so this will definitely help you make life a lot easier, and we will learn how to do all of the formulas and then autofill those so that you don't have to continue recalculating them each and every time. Okay, so in topic A, we're going to create worksheet formulas. These are Excel formulas, and formulas are to perform simple or complex mathematical computations in worksheets. We are going to be adding rows or columns of numbers, multiplying sales figures by commission rates, and applying tax cells when we go through our spreadsheet. Okay, so this is what a formula looks like. This is a basic sum formula, and so if you are adding two numbers together, then you're going to see that you have to have the equal sign and then the A2 column, so this would be this 300, plus the B2 column, which would be the 500, and that is going to be your total of 800. So remember that your total is going to display the results, but in your actual formula bar, it is going to display what you have added, multiplied, or subtracted, or divided. So that will show you the actual formula you used in that particular cell, but down here it will actually just show the answer. Okay, so this is your formula bar. If you want to cancel that formula that you are trying to do, you can do so. If you hit the FX, that is going to insert a formula for you. And then the check mark, that is the enter button if you want that formula to go ahead. And then that is the actual formula bar that the formula goes into. So let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, so here I have, I'm just going to hit Control and then scroll my mouse button up so it makes it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Okay, so here I have like my new products and my estimated sales. Okay, if I wanted to add all of my products together, okay, I could do it. Remember I told you in the last session that there are several different ways that you can do one thing. So I'm going to show you each way. So every time that we start a formula and everything that we want to do with that formula, we always have to start it with an equal sign. Okay, so if I wanted to total this whole column, then I could do an equal sign and I could click on this one and then hit my plus button. Oops. Okay, and then click on this one and hit my plus button. The next one, hit my plus button. The next one, hit my plus button. And the next one. Okay, so after I have all of that entered, you will see up here in the formula bar that this is where it's all adding up. You will see that these are each individual colors, and so that is what is in my formula itself. In order for that formula to go ahead and trigger, then I would just hit enter, and that would be my total. So you'll see that when I come back to here, even though my total is in this particular cell, my formula is still up here in my box. So if I were to double click the cell, it would show me what is in my formula. Okay, so I'm going to delete this formula out, so I'm going to hit my cancel button. I'm just going to backspace it. So the other way that you can do this is if you hit your formula bar, it will actually come up with a set. And you can come in here, and if you're not sure what you want to do, you can type in a brief description. So if I type in a brief description and I say I want to add, okay, and then I hit go, then it will give me different ways that I can add. So I'm going to choose sum because that is how I'm going to start out my addition. Okay, I do not want it in that particular box though. I want it in this one. Okay, so there's my sum, and I hit OK. And then it tells me what cells do I want. Okay, so what numbers do I want to add? I want to add B2 all the way down to B6. So the colon in the center of those is what's going to tell me what's going to be added from which number, which is B2, to which number, which is going to be B6. And so that is correct. That is what I am looking for. So I'm going to hit OK. I get the same total. Okay, so this formula looks a little bit different because I didn't have to sit there and go add and then click and then add and then click. Okay, so this one actually says equals sum B2 to B6. So that's how I know that that's going to be taken care of. Okay, let me show you a third way, especially with adding. It's pretty easy. You have auto sum over here. So if you are at the bottom of your column, you can easily hit auto sum. And it will add the B2 to the B6 all the way down, and you just hit enter in order to get that formula to be taken. Okay, so 3 different ways that you can do one thing on Excel, and that was just to add cells together. Okay, so that was a total. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so all of that being said, that's your enter button. If I wanted to hit that instead of the actual enter to activate the formula on there, then I could. You saw where the formula bar was and the formula that was in there, even though your total was down here. Okay, so you have elements of Excel formulas. In here, you always have to start a formula with an equal sign. If you do not, it has no idea what you're trying to tell it to do. So the equal sign tells Excel to perform a calculation. You have constants, which are numbers and text that do not change unless manually changed. And so if I had something where I was going to multiply that each one of these on this Excel sheet, I was going to multiply each one of those by this tax rate. So even though this number is changing for a desktop, for a phone, for a tablet, for a smart TV, the tax rate is staying the same. So that is going to be my constant when we do those formulas. Okay, you have references, and these are use of cell or range from a cell to use in calculations. So your references are going to be what you're actually referencing that you want to add. Okay, and then your mathematical operation, obviously what you want to specify. Do you want to add, subtract, divide, multiply? What exactly are you wanting to do with that information? Okay, so then you have elements of the Excel formula. So here's your equal sign. Here is your reference. Okay, so my reference is going to probably be B2. Okay, that's going to be my reference. My constant is going to be 8%. Okay, this constant is showing that it's 100. So even though that the A1 is going to change, so A1, A2, A3, all of those are still going to be added to the 100. Okay, and then this is the operator. So this is telling us that we are adding. And then of course your order of operations. Some of you may remember from back in the day or even recently how you do please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for the parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So you have to go in that order when you're going through the order of operations in order to make sure that all of that is correct and that your answer is correct based off of what you do first on your order of operations. Okay, so your highest precedence is going to be your parentheses. So we would do A2 plus B2. And then whatever that is, we are going to take that to the exponent to the second power. Okay, so that's our second highest precedence. And then after we do that, we are going to multiply that, the 10 times the C2. And then our lowest precedent is subtraction. So that would be our order of operation of the parentheses, exponent, multiplication, subtraction, from highest to lowest. Okay, so your reference and your operators. Your comma, this is what is going to tell Excel what to exclude in the series of references. So if I have A1, comma, A2, comma, B1, comma, B2. So that means I'm not going to go from A1 all the way to B2 and include everything that's in between. That comma is going to tell me what specifically I want in that particular reference in that formula. Okay, your colon is used to do a range operator. So if you want to tell it what to include, we would go A25 colon F25. So that would take everything that you wanted to do in between those two cell references. And then you have a space. Okay, so this tells Excel to look for a value in a cell where two ranges intersect. So you have your A9 colon J9 colon space. Okay, so where are we going to intersect at in between A9 and J9 and E2 and E22? It'll make sense in just a minute. We will definitely go through this. Okay, so on your reference of operators, this is where your adding comes in at. So if I wanted to do equals and then sum, and then I wanted to do B2, sorry, have to have parentheses, B2, okay, and then I do colon, okay, so I'm not going to sit there and go B2 plus B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus B6. I want to go B2 colon and then B6 and then close my parentheses. This tells me that I'm adding all of that together. Okay, same answer. So you can see that the different ways that you can do that, it'll look for those answers when you have them in there. Okay, so this is where your intersection of operator goes. So this is that space that they were talking about, the A9 colon J9. Okay, so you will see that you have A9 here, all the way over here to J9. Okay, and then you have a space because you have E2 all the way down to E22. Okay, so you want to know where this is going to intersect at the operations and where like where the middle of everything is. And so that's going to be right here, and it looks like it's going to be at E and then 9. Okay, so that's going to be where your intersect of operations is at. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick. We have our cell sheet here, and we have that we want to multiply our tax rate by each one of these particular things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a total, and that is going to be my column here because this is where I want my total tax rate to be. Okay, so this is cells before tax. Okay, and then this is going to be cells after tax, and then cells with tax. Okay, so I want my B2 to be multiplied by my B9. Okay, so now I have my formula in here. It's on B2. Okay, so that is going to be my 1, and then my B9, that is going to be my constant. So that's my reference and my constant. Okay, so here I need equals, and I need B2 times B9. Oop, I'm sorry. So I messed up on that formula. I can double click, okay, and I can take this part out for B2 and go B3, that's what I really want, okay, times B9, and then hit enter. Okay, and then I want start that out with an equal sign. I want B4 times B9. Okay, so that's taking the tablet times the 8%. And then I want B5 If ever you don't know why your formula is not working, make sure that equal sign is there, because if you don't have things highlighted on your screen, then it is probably because you don't have an equal sign in front of it to state that you want a formula done. Okay, and then B6, B9. Okay, so those are all of my totals. So here's my formulas. You can see them up in the formula bar here. So each time that I move down, you can see that the constant or the reference changes, but the constant stays the same of B9 because everything's getting multiplied by your taxes. Okay, so these are cells before taxes. So these are all my cells. I'm going to take my cell and I'm going to do an auto sum. Okay, so on my auto sum, for my cells before tax, I do not want this B7 to be included. Okay, so I'm just going to take that 7 out and put 6, and it will show me that that is all that's going to be included is B2 through B6, and then I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so then you can take this and you can do the same thing. You can do auto sum. I don't want my C7 in there, so I'm going to back that out and go to C6 and hit enter. Anytime that you want your formula to go ahead and take place, you just hit enter. Okay, now I want to make sure that this number with the sales tax rate is going to be the same as if we add these two together. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say equals B8 times, now I can either type it in or I can actually click on it. So B8 times B9. Okay, and that did show up the same as that. Okay, so you could easily get your total here and just multiply it by times 8%. I did want you to see the total column if you wanted to add a column in there so that you can understand that it can go all this way, or you can just get your total here and then multiply it down here, and that is what it states in your formula bar as well. Okay. Topic B of Unit 2. These are going to be functions. These are going to be built-in, predefined formulas that you can quickly and easily insert into your worksheet cells. And then you have an argument, which can be cell references, constants, formulas, or even other functions or logical values. Okay, so on here we have where we can insert functions. Okay, so sum function, where it says equal and then sum, and then the argument is B2 plus all those cells in between B2 to E2. And then your function result is going to be your total in the box. So we have a couple of different ways that we can do that. So we can come over here and we can say that we want this total. Okay, so the total in between the cells and the tax. So we will do tax on this one. We'll change that. And then we'll go total here. Oops. If I can get my finger spacing correct, we will put total there. Okay, so you want this one plus this one to give you a total here. Okay, so you can either do auto sum, or we can do equals sum, open parentheses, click on this cell, hit your plus sign, click on this cell, and then close your parentheses. Okay, so because that is B2 plus C2, and it gives you your total, we can actually take this and we can autofill it down, and it will give you your totals all the way down, so you don't have to plug that formula in every single time. So now I have this one, and it says B3 plus C3. Click on this one, it says B4 plus C4, and then B5 plus C5, and so forth and so on. Okay, so that is one way that you can do that with your autofill. And then you can put in your argument, and you can also put in your function result. Okay, so my function result is here on my numbers. So it's the 59,778. These are my results themselves. My argument is the B2 plus C2. I didn't need to put a colon. I could have. It wouldn't have changed anything, so I could do colon. Okay, and it just does the same exact thing. So it's still adding those two numbers together. Okay, and I still get the same results. But normally you want to do that if you're doing like a huge range in between that, and not necessarily just two numbers. Okay, you have a function library group. So if you are looking for something and you are not quite sure if it even exists, much less anything else, you can actually go to the function library, which is on the top of your bar, and it tells you that this is a function library group under formulas. So let's take a look at that. Here's our formula tab, and here is our function library. Okay, so here's your auto sum. Again, there's two different ways you can do that, either on your home screen or right there on the functions or formulas tab. So here we have recently used. So if you have been working on your spreadsheet and you're like, oh, how did I get that formula? You know, I need to get it again, but I'm starting a new sheet. Then you can come in here, and I've used sum, average, hyperlink, count. These are some that have been recently used within the spreadsheet. If you are a financial person, you do have different ways that you can put formulas in here. We're not going to go through each and every one of them, but you are more than welcome to hover your mouse over them, and it will tell you what it will do for you. So this one's the returns accrued interest for a security that pays periodic interest. Okay, so this is going to be for your interest rates on there. So if that's something that you would use in your job, you are more than welcome to look at that particular function and then kind of play around with it with some numbers and see if that works for you. There's definitely different kinds of these. So this one returns the previous coupon date before settlement date. So if you wanted to look at that, and then you have payment, this one. So your payment itself, okay, this one's going to calculate the payment for a loan. This is based on constant payments. So if you have, and also an interest rate. So if you have a car payment that you make every single month and you want to see how long it takes you to pay that car off, or if you make more than that particular payment, how long it's going to take you to pay that off, or if you can pay all the interest off, this would be a great formula to figure that out with. So you would take the total amount of the car and then plus the interest rate and multiply that out with this particular formula. So that one's a good one to take a look at if that's something you're interested in. And then also the PV. So this one is the returns present value on an investment, and then the total amount that a series of future payments is worth now. So depending on your investment, if you invest in a mutual fund or stocks and bonds or anything that has an interest rate, if you put in the amount now and you continue to put in the same amount and it grows with the interest rate, then how much would you have stating in like 2025 or something along those lines? So that would be a good one to use for that one. And then you have logical. Okay, so this is going to be your and, false, if. These particular formulas are going to say like if the commission rate is below 80,000, then it will come back as true. So you would put in that formula and you would say, you know, what if on those situations and it comes back true or false or an error. Okay, so then you have text, and you can go through each one of these. And then you have date and time, which these are very interesting to go through. So when you want that automatic date every time you bring like a spreadsheet up, so if I wanted this spreadsheet to have a particular date, so it has the year, the month, the day, each time that I open up that spreadsheet or each time that I open up that letterhead, then that date changes to the day that it is on your calendar. Okay, so it's not something that you have to go in and change each and every time. Every time you open it up, it comes to the current date that you're at. If you are in HR and you want to look at some of the, like if you have national holidays, so you have like your work day, and then you have your network days. So this is going to tell you if you have holidays within there or which ones are between the two dates. This one is your start date, your end date, and if you have holidays and weekends in there too. So it will return that number of how many days were actually worked. If you want to do the monthly date, this returns the month, a number from January to the 1st of January to December. So January to December on your months. You have lookup references. These are not anything. You can do lookup if you are doing like your VLOOKUPs and your HLOOKUPs, which will be more into your Excel level 3, because those are how you combine and look up formulas in between two different spreadsheets. If you are math and trigonometry and you need help and you want formulas, you can go in here. And then if you need more functions to where you're not quite sure if it's statistical, engineering, cube, information, compatibility, and web. Okay, but for right now, we are probably going to stick with our sums and some of our financials and a little bit of our dates. So that's what we're going to stick with, just to keep on the more basic side of it on what you might be using.